Okay, so here we are talking about water with my beautiful friend Syria in Egypt. And the inspiration for this meeting is to talk more in depth about homeopathy and water remedies, which we have both been using for many years. And actually, Syria sent me this amazing Hydroracle, which we're going to talk about in more depth. And when I received this in the post, I just was amazed because it's so beautiful on every level and it's so useful. And I just want to talk about it and find out about the story behind it. And I think this is incredibly forward thinking and gives access to so many people to work with homeopathy. So, Syria, tell me, how did this all come about?
So good evening and good evening everyone who's gonna tune in later on. Good to see you again after our last time, and we were in the Amazonian forest, and now we're talking water. Uh,
Mm,
and It seems that it's the medium that connects us all, or that connects all of life, really.
mm,
Um, so I would say that naturally it came from that perspective, from the fact that I don't know, memories of childhood, watching raindrops on the car window. I think we've all experienced also, you know, breathing on the car window and then making drawings. This is something everybody can relate to. Or in the mirror of the bathroom, the memories of water that we have when our soul is very innocent and just arrived here. And I remember watching the drops for hours. There was no screens at the time, so we had to entertain ourselves, you know, especially if you lived in the countryside like I did. There was not so much entertainment like now. And I think that from that moment, I remember water being a friend. And then fast forward, a few years back, I did even a hypnosis, quantum hypnosis, where I received that water chose Earth. When you turn the Earth, when you don't look at the Earth where it's mostly territories, it's actually a blue planet. There's a face of our planet that is nearly completely blue, and that's the Pacific Ocean. So when I say that, I get extremely moved
mm,
because I remember this hypnosis where water is here and nowhere else. Nowhere else. That's what
mm.
I received, and the idea of you asked me about the idea of the hydroracle. That was the question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Um, we're going to have to find some structure in in this talk because water spirit is really fluid, liquid, and unpredictable at times.
Mm,
So I suggest that we also take a moment, you and I, to tune in and see what the spirit of water would like us to share in our human resonance. But
mm,
initially, honestly, it was so now I'm in Egypt, but I was also living in Egypt in 2020, and I was in the pyramids on the 21st of December 2020, alone at a time which I felt was, had been prophetized and talked about, the precession of the equinoxes, etc., etc. And I received this message that we are the waters of Aquarius. And I had no idea what it meant whatsoever. So that was a anchor with the spirit of water. And then a few weeks, and then I came back to Europe to be with my family. And then I went back to Egypt and I was like, where do I go now? And then I received to go and fast with the water of St. Catherine, Sinai, this very holy place where, Moses received revelations and so many saints and prophets walked this desertic region of the Sinai and mountainous region also. So I started to fast with the water there, and this is where the hydroracle came to me. So I have several drawings at the time, and and then it coincided with one of my patients at the time who was based in Egypt, and we were using the water method as homeopath. And maybe you can explain that, Sarah, explain the water method to people. But we literally got rid of all our symptoms, mostly using the water method. So she was a key counterpart in this creation. And she's actually the lady called Salma Salman, who's created the Hydroracle, the design of it, with me. So the design is also Egyptian.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. So there was a kind of co-creation based on the experience that you had together, the healing that she experienced with the actual water remedies. Amazing. So just on a simple level that, and I think Masaru Emoto was one of the first people who kind of took the photographs of crystallized frozen water and could see that water, if it was given a word, let's say like love, crystallized in a certain pattern, or let's say hate, crystallized in another type of pattern, which wasn't very coherent. And I think that was, I don't know, 30 years ago now. But I mean, there's so many water scientists who have amazing bodies of work. But I mean, on a simple level, with homeopathy, just I use a circle and a triangle. Do you use a triangle in yours or just put the words in? No
I just
triangle?
put the words. Hmm.
So anyway, the way I was taught by my homeopathic teacher was that I used to circle, then I put a triangle in the circle, and then I wrote the homeopathic remedy and the potency inside the triangle, and then I put 2 inches of water on that. Either put it under, sorry, in the glass and on the actual circle, and then I put it under the lamp or I put it in the sun, and 20 minutes later, there's the remedy. So it's using really a stencil with the glass on top of it. And my homeopath at the time would give me remedies like that, and I would have these huge shifts. So
Mhm.
for me, that just made total sense. Obviously, to someone else who hasn't had that experience, they might think oh, it's a load of rubbish because it's just water on a piece of paper. But once you experience the shifts, you realize, wow, the power of it is
Yeah.
just as powerful as taking a remedy in its like physical form. So,
Mhm.
um, and I think the interesting thing for me is like whether people are willing to work with that or not, and that really depends on the kind of on the person and where they're at in their life and yeah, what they're open to. So yeah, and I actually used this in hospital and stuff. I think when I had my daughter and I had a slight infection, um, I was told to take a snake remedy, and I used the water method, and it resolved the problem very quickly. So even in acute situations, which most people would think, oh, well, I need to kind of do something like take a drug or something. I used that in the hospital and bam, it went. So I think it can work on so many levels.
Mhm.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so
I have-
yeah.
I want to share one vivid memory that I had when I was training as a homeopath, and I had a part-time job at Ainsworth, the homeopathic pharmacy. But even then, I was using the water method. We were on the emergency line, and I remember a farmer calling from Wales, hundreds of kilometers away from any homeopathic pharmacy. And he had a
Mm,
cow that was about to give birth, and I wanted him to use
wow.
pulsatilla, to help turn the
Mm,
calf in utero of
yes.
the cow. And we used pulsatilla in the water method, and then a spray, and that completely shifted the whole birthing experience of that animal who was in distress, and the farmer was in distress too.
Mm,
But pulsatilla worked its
yeah.
way through the water. I think water is not like the sun. It meets you where you're at. The sun just shines the same for everyone. But water meets you with its secrets and its wisdom wherever you are at in your life. So, even sometime when I am not well and I need a remedy, I don't use the water method because I'm not centered. I use, a pre-made remedy, or I use the radionics, but I don't make my remedies for the water because water is so porous in a way. It listens and it mimics. It mimics everything that it's surrounding. And I think once this wisdom is shared more and more, we're going to see that most people would want to restructure the water they get from the supermarket that's being exposed to music with strange lyrics, with the transportation and the way it's fragmented in a way. The energy of water is fragmented when it comes from a water bottle that is, going through the whole industrial process of commercial water. And so I think it's really important also to touch that during our talk about how people can simply restructure their water with their intentions and the words and using the force of the sun or any source of light on it. But if you agree, we're still in the first few minutes, so maybe we can do a tuning in, an attunement to the spirit of water.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I kind of jumped ahead.
Yeah.
I got excited about your Hydroracle, but I would love to do that. Yeah.
No, it's good. Thank you. It needs to, find its way through anyhow. So, do you want me to lead this, or you would like to do it?
Yeah, I'm happy if you do it actually, because you mentioned it, and yeah.
So I think the first I feel as soon as we connect to the word itself, so in English, water, aqua in Latin, and I'll also connect to eau, which is a French word. There's immediately like a cooling passage in the body. Something cools down and brings the primordial state, which is the fact that we are aquatic beings first. we swim in amniotic fluid, don't we? And then we heavily rely on our mom's hydration for the milk to spring, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So water is our environment for growth from embryo to fetus. And then it's nourishment, hydration. That is, the first at least 6 months of our lives, our energy is completely fluid because there is no solid food. So our nature is aquatic and fluid. And so now I hear that naturally, when we are looking at water with a homeopathic lens, of course, it's a marriage made in heaven, because we're talking about a medicine that is also very fluid, very adaptable, bespoke. So the medium of water is perfect for this medicine, even better than sugar pills or honey or whatever. And I'm receiving now that this grounding that we need for this conversation to share with people is truly a grounding in love. Water is our friend. It is a guide. It is the source of life. And it's really important to connect with water this way because of when we're meeting now, Sarah, it's solstice energy. So the sun is, yang is leaving room for yin again.
Mm.
We've reached the peak of daylight and sunlight, and now the days are going to start to shorten. And that's the first thing, but also I can't help to bring a little bit of my Sufi imprint, which is that water is an allegory, a metaphor for soul, for yin. So when we are talking of, whether it's integrative health or what you do, Sarah, is starseed homeopathy, ascension homeopathy, and crystalline DNA awakening, we're truly talking about soul nourishment. And the soul nourishes better with fluidity. And the great master Bruce Lee comes now. What a master.
Mhm.
What an embodiment of yin this man was, both in his body movements, but also his words and what he shared. Be water, my friend.
Mm.
And I receive, be a friend, water. The intention that springs from my heart for this conversation with you, Sarah, is for people to never look at water the same way after this conversation. And as you said, pre-recording, we've only reached the tip of the iceberg of what water has to tell us and share with us. And I would love to stay in that space to hear what comes through your soul.
Mm. Well, thank you for your really elegant words, so inspiring. So when I close my eyes, I just feel this heart-centered kind of feeling with water sitting right there. It's a very kind of playful, loving feeling, actually, and it feels like water is so happy that we're acknowledging, I want to say, her presence, because she's been ignored for so long, taken for granted for so long, and obviously in ancient times there were many water rituals, and water was honored and cherished because it wasn't always available. But the bottles in the supermarkets, this is just this weird, sterile relationship to water, very kind of practical and not particularly, I don't know, it's so kind of detached from what water really is, and just that lovely warm feeling of that water is such a beautiful, creative, universal solvent that wants to play with us. And we can see that with Veda Austin's work, or this beautiful creativity that she is working with and inspiring everyone else to work with. So yeah, I'm just feeling optimistic, actually. And I realized that my own relationship with water, like there's a lot there for me to engage with, and it's a journey, and yeah, I'm excited because I love to kind of follow patterns and follow a trail. Like I feel there's a trail there, an unknown trail to be discovered. So yeah, I'm just loving the fact that we're devoting this conversation to water, and yeah, and just see how that evolves. It's like a kind of a door opening. So yeah, that's it from me.
Thank you so much. And I love the word that you use, solvent, a universal solvent. Is that what you said, right?
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Right.
can't remember.
Hmm.
I stole that from somebody else, but I can't remember who. Um, yeah.
Okay, so let's just take 3 deep breaths and if you're watching us, also take 3 deep breaths with this awareness of the water, the fluidity in your body, and perhaps meet it with a bit more reverence just for the time of this conversation and see how we come out of it. Without even informing anything, no homeopathic or intention. 2 and 1. And let's reopen our eyes. Thank you. I'm going to have some actually.
Have some water. When we were just that last bit, I just had this impression of water turning into some sort of beautiful sculpture, and it was, yeah, it was beautiful. It was, I don't know what the sculpture was, but it felt like some sort of ancient being from water. But it just the fact that water is a living spirit. It's a living spirit with a huge history. I mean, there's a big story there, isn't there? That, and we've lost connection with that so much. And I suppose that's what we're reclaiming now. And
Mm.
um, I mean, that's why I think when you sent me the Hydroracle, I was like, you've been on this journey with water and creating these remedies um, with these kind of templates. And I thought to myself, there's so much to experience and play with in this water homeopathic world.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that really excites me because, um, even things like using numbers in water and how that kind of works. There's so many different aspects to it. And
Mm.
ultimately, I do think, the kind of skill and art in remedies is the right remedy at the right time. And so that's where I feel like there is a really deep connection on a soul level, because we have to have that kind of conversation with our higher selves to be able to kind of tune into the right frequency, and then we can use the water to embody that in like the 3D. So it's
Mm.
it's pretty yeah, it's very powerful, and it makes it accessible for everybody. This is what I love most.
Yes. Yeah. When the Hydroracle was also because I wanted something that honored water, but that
Mm,
also is playful and not to take ourselves seriously with it. Because, if we wait for science to reveal everything that ancient wisdoms have
mm,
kept alive for so long, we would wait several lifetimes because science is not a done thing. And I think the medical fiascos of the last few years have been a very strong reminder for those who felt asleep in this illusion that science is, the new God. And
mm,
then we've realized that science without consciousness or right intention is actually very dangerous for
yeah.
us. And we still see it running in the world. And I want to use this platform to say that most of the people that I see now are poisoned by the science, by the so-called science. And
Yeah.
so their water is poisoned by
Mm,
something that was not meant to be there. And
mm,
therefore, all of us are poisoned because all the waters of earth are connected. My
mm,
son was telling me a few years back, he was very curious about water. And he was
mm,
telling me, the first drop of water that ever existed on this planet is still here. It
mm.
recycles from the rain to the ice to the water we drink to our sweat. It's a
Mm,
closed circuit. So I
yeah.
think this conversation in its more, structural and impactful and perhaps masculine aspect is a strong reminder to keep our inner water clean, because
Mm.
at the moment there's just a reflection of what we're doing to water on Earth.
Yeah.
Commercialize it, use it, put it in plastic, dishonor it, drink it as if it's a good that's always going to be there, but it is not a good. It's the
Yeah.
source of life. And one of my dreams is to spread more that reverence and honoring. So every awakened home could have a place for water, to restructure it, to work with it, but also play with it. And I think the Hydroracle was in that intention, using what I know most, homeopathy, a little bit also a slap in the face of classical homeopathy that has sometimes clashed with me and the way I worked, to say it's whatever I want it to be,
Mm.
changing potencies to 222 and 33 because it worked for me. This alignment in the numbers. Perhaps when remedies were made in laboratories or pharmacies, there's a succussion process, there's machines, and there's algorithms or whatever, analog systems. But when you're using water directly, why not 444, 333, or whatever feels. Today I made a remedy for one of my son, and it was like, what potency did you give me? And I did it on the radionics this time. It's like 1, 1, 1, 1. Because a few days ago he told me I only see 1, 1, 1 everywhere since I moved to Egypt. So I was like, well, let's just match that in the whatever. I think it was carbo veg that I gave him. But anyhow, the water allows this play. And if there's no resonance, there's no resonance. Water shows us that it plays with whatever is around it. It kind of, yeah, mimics it. So we also pay attention by seeing the water in the container of what we're doing to ourselves. If I talk nicely to this glass of water and it responds with beautiful drawings, and I mean, hieroglyphs,
Images.
as Veda calls them, Masaru
Yeah.
Emoto showed us also some photos and many traditions. Actually, I come from a tradition where we say Bismillah before we drink, which is in the name of God, in the name of love. We're not supposed to drink water without whispering that in the water.
Mm.
And
Oh,
I know,
beautiful.
in the Christian tradition, people bless the food, bless the
Mm-hmm.
water, bless the wine.
Mm.
So all the traditions, as I started this thread, is about the fact that ancient wisdom is connected to the wisdom of water. And
Mm.
we can reconnect to it through play, but also we'll share it in a bit. Nothing less than miracles can happen when we truly know how to address and honor water here
Yeah.
and here,
Yeah.
right?
When you were when you were saying that, I felt emotional actually, because I was imagining saying I love you to the water that I was drinking, and then I thought, how many glasses of water have I drunk without being grateful and connecting? And actually, I actually felt a bit sorry for water because it's always been there. It's been our friend. It's with us all the time, and yet I haven't given it as much love, like in appreciation, as it deserves. It deserves huge amounts of thanks. And when I said in my mind, when I said I love you, I actually felt I could feel I was like a little bit energy, like some emotion coming up, and it was sadness that I hadn't really given it more love. And so anyway, I will from now on.
I'm doing that every day. I need reminders every day, and I think again the oracle deck I created, I've made sure that there's no negative words in it. That
Mm.
was a long process in the writing. I was alone in the mountains, and I actually got really sick from drinking such charged water
Oh
coming
wow.
straight from the spring in St. Catherine.
Mm.
It really took my body to the edge. because the water that I had been drinking until now in my life was, I lived in Ibiza for 10 years, so it was like bottled water, and then, in the UK and France, the same, and
Mm.
fluoride water, whatever. Then I go to St. Catherine, which is a Stargate, absolutely a Stargate, and a place that is charged with so much love, so much beauty and silence. And it's winter, and it's the coldest winter there. And I had no idea that it would be so cold because it's actually 1,500 meters high up. It was the coldest winter. Oh my God. Within 3 days of drinking the water, I started to bleed from all orifices in my body. I lost 8 kilos in a week.
What?
And it was truly matching what I had found received in the pyramid, which was, "We are the waters of Aquarius." And the first sentence I had received was, maybe we'll put it on the video, in the text afterwards, but it was, "I renew my vows to the goddess. We are the waters of Aquarius." And I felt that truly my whole water system had been flushed and
Mhm.
replaced and activated.
Wow.
And so the reason why I was telling you that is that at that time, also I was stargazing with this star that we share a deep love for, you and me, which is the Sirius star system. And I was stargazing from this mountain. The light of the stars was burning my eyes. That's how weak I was at that time. There was little water in my system. You know, I was empty, really, with so much symptoms of sweating, high fever, diarrhea, etc. A total healing crisis, a total rebirth. But I received straight from the stars that in this product, in these things that will be shaped somehow at some point, and this was a big thing for me as a starseed, to make something, really, to create something physical in the world. Oh my God, the children were easy compared to that. And I
Mhm.
feel many people can relate when they don't feel grounded. The material world is not so easy to engage with. So producing a book or oracle deck to me was, oh my God, this is technical. We need to design it. And uh, but the essence had to be very clear, is that no negative words. That when people open the Hydroracle and read the messages of the water or the messages of the actual remedy, everything had to be turned in positive wording, because
Mhm.
there would be a moment of deep mimicking their water with what they receive.
Wow.
So even now, when I reread the messages that I wrote, I know it's completely channeled because I don't remember writing any of this. You know?
I think that is the sign of channeled work. I do this sometimes. I've written something and I find it a few weeks later. I said, what was I thinking? I wasn't thinking, I was just channeling.
Yeah.
And they are really beautiful descriptions. And that's funny, I never got around to asking you about that. But when I read them, I have this
Mm.
kind of, I have wondered, like, wow, where are these words coming from? And they have power and they're beautiful and they create an energy around them when I read them, almost like a poem.
Mm.
Um, and then obviously you take the water at the same time. So it's a kind of synergy of this kind of beautiful word poem and the water with the word of the substance, the remedy. So let's say it's emerald, for instance.
Mhm.
So it's actually working on quite a few different levels, because you have the water, you have the word and the history and the energy and the frequency and the fact that it's a living spirit. Then you have the poetry, which brings in a certain vibration when you
Yeah.
read it. So actually, it kind of holds you in a space and kind of hits you from a few different angles, which is really
Yeah.
lovely. So
Yeah. I'd love to read the Emerald message if you don't mind, just to make it a bit more.
oh, I would love. I was going to suggest it actually.
Or we can also pick up a card for this conversation and see. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
Uh,
read the Emerald because I actually prescribed it yesterday and I read the description for my client and it was all about safety and um, healing the heart. And
Mm.
after I gave it to her, she said, "Wow, that is exactly what I needed." So
Yeah.
your description was like a perfect uh like anti it kind of was like a stroke. It was like a stroke, a beautiful
Mhm.
stroking, like making, because they, to calm down the nervous systems, they say these days you stroke yourself, and that's
Mm.
what it felt like when we were reading it. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you for that feedback. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Now I just opened one that had never been opened, and the first one that appears from the printer when they've been printed is rose quartz, and this is a remedy that my son really transformed with
Wow.
as a homeopathic remedy. So every card comes from a story of a patient or a loved ones. They're not random, these remedies, the Lacuma number. It's so hard to pick up 33 cards from a whole Materia Medica, which is,
Mm,
especially our Materia Medica is very extended, isn't it? Like crystals and the new remedies, the ones for this era too. So I was like, it has to be channeled. It has to come from somewhere else because it's impossible. It's an impossible task. And then I
mm.
started to see people, their constellation of remedy, and one was being highlighted. Um,
That's
so,
beautiful. I love that constellation of remedies for each person, because
yeah,
that
yeah.
is how it is. I'd never heard that before, but I love it. Thank you.
Shall we pick up one at the same time and see which one comes up?
Oh yeah, I love
Let's
that.
see
Yeah.
who you are.
Yeah.
Okay. And after that, I'd like us to share some of our miracles with water, because I know you have a few. I certainly have a few to share. So, oh,
Ooh,
which one?
what does it say? I can't see it. Sorry,
Jasmine,
because mm. Oh,
Jelsia,
just
yellow jasmine.
yes, very interesting remedy, which is a kind of a remedy we use acutely a lot, but there's a lot more to gelsemium, obviously, on a kind
Yeah,
of deep level. What do you, how do you, maybe you should read what you've written. That would be nice.
yeah, I think that's the easiest way. So it has a life of its own. So I wrote it, but it didn't come from me. That's my point. So I call gelsemium rest and vitality. These are the two words that are kind of like two knights, that are protecting the energy of gelsemium. Deep pressure versus deep rest. An excessive focus on the former and inadequate attention to the latter contributed to my struggle with depression. As I shed the weight of past narratives, I sense a resurgence of vitality in my limbs. My mind now radiates brilliance, akin to a crown adorned with exquisite diamonds, and my perception is sharper than ever. I see that light is light, and light is the fabric of life.
Hmm.
So, that's what I meant with not writing about, I would say, the Materia Medica picture that perhaps belongs to other times, the Victorian times.
Yeah.
Our elders had to go through so many different things. Our
Mm.
challenges nowadays are a lot more subtle. Unless you are in a war zone, then it's different. But talking to you in Ireland and me in Egypt, but holding a French passport and being quite safe and being able to travel wherever I want and always having some money in the bank. And you know what I mean? In
Yeah.
comparison with what some region of the world have to go through in these times, I find that everything is very subtle. People come and it's becoming very complicated because their demands are sophisticated.
Yes.
Their
Yes.
demands are of a higher level. And so I found that this is like a tool, an everyday tool to ask help from water,
Mm.
as well as, see a homeopath. I put that in
Mm.
the booklet.
Yeah.
It is one way to play with homeopathy,
Yeah.
but a homeopath that has been correctly trained and also tuned into the times that we're in and the particular color of the challenges of the human psyche, really, and the environment that we are evolving into, the solar flares and the movements, the pole shifts, and all of that is very real to me. And then it's mimicked within us, pole shift from mind
Yeah.
to heart, from
Mm.
yang to yin or yin to yang, depending where we are at in our
Yeah.
incarnation. I found that it's just a tool that if you see it there, you might that day consider drinking water in a different way.
Mm.
Because then it opens up to, okay, I can put gelsemium under a glass.
Yes.
But I'd like to share some of the miracles that I had also with, sometimes I channel words for my clients and I tell them this is also your remedy this week. Write down on a piece of paper. Leave your beautiful water bottle on top of it. Make it a special water bottle, a special container, not just any water bottle. And that's part also of your prescription that week. And people transform.
Mm.
To just write underwater, I am loved, to someone who's despising themselves, abuses themselves with all sorts of substances or thought patterns, it changes everything.
Mm.
And I'm saying it, and I'm so grateful to many people now who are sharing about their relationship with water, their experiments with water. You mentioned Veda Austin, Dr. Emoto.
So
And
there's
we
many,
say,
actually. There's
yeah,
so many scientists. There's so many people who've like devoted their lives, but
yes,
it's now, but I mean, they're individuals obviously which are spreading a word, but you're doing it from your own experience over many years. And the beautiful thing is, I think the consciousness, everyone's, consciousness and the awareness of water is rising, and as you said, it's so interesting how it's subtle because on one level it's subtle, but on another level it's essential. and
yeah,
and so it's kind of we see how detached and kind of disconnected we've become, that the spirit of water is so ignored. But it's so
yeah,
beautiful when you were saying about the creation of these remedies, because it's because of your recognition of them as remedies, as energetic imprints, that you can build a relationship with them. Do you know what I mean? And that's
yeah,
and 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 maybe someone else has a completely different relationship with that particular remedy. There's no right and wrong, but gelsemium to one person can mean something completely different. But
yeah,
I,
exactly. Yeah.
but I just love when all those words, because as you said, it's more, where there's a polarity to everything, obviously. But the materia medica is a kind of always has a kind of negative slant, really. What's wrong with us, kind of thing. But you've
Mm.
kind of reversed that, and there's a lot of kind of positive and evolutionary awareness stretching aspects to those descriptions, and it's really beautiful. I just love this crown of diamonds. It's
Yeah.
it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And um, well, I sent you a little stock of the Hydroracle. So if anyone wants to contact you or go on my website, they can do that. I also took a stock with me in Egypt, and maybe we'll do another edition. I don't know. But to me, it's really important also that we open to, there's so many different ways of working with water. Let
Mm.
aside water remedies in homeopathy. Uh, so, there's the possibility to use it in such creative ways.
Yeah.
For example, okay, I resonate a lot with the ankh. That symbol awakened something in me when I saw it the first time when I was a teenager and then a young adult. And this has been guiding me. I think many people also connect with this particular symbol. So in 2022, I was in a cabin in south of Oslo in Norway, where water was present in so many different forms, but a lot of snow and a lot of fog. So these are all forms of water, isn't it? The water in the fjord in front of me, and also frozen water. So I had access to all these different type of water, and I started to work with the ankh. And I put my brass ankh under a jar of water, and I was drinking this. Again, healing crisis. The intention was to know who I was. And in relation to the ankh, why do I recognize something in the ankh? Some people feel like that about a star, about a crystal, a location, Mount Shasta, for example, Ibiza,
Yeah.
I don't know, so many different, Goa, wherever.
Mhm. Yeah.
Give it to water. Because this is what happened to me. I put the ankh under a special bottle and I was honoring it every day. And I genuinely wanted to know more about myself. So I drank the water. Then I did the hydrograph method where you freeze the water. I didn't use the fridge. I just had to leave it outside for a bit because it was minus something. So I would ask the water, who am I? And the water will design for me the ankh.
Hmm. Wow. Amazing.
So, for example, that's an example, but also I've helped many of my female clients lose weight by using a bottle of a bottle of water on top of a picture of themselves where they were at their ideal weight and also in a high mind or feeling well at this time of their life because sometimes our body was looking fit but our mind was not so happy. Maybe we were
Yeah.
smoking or some of them were taking recreational drugs and in their 20s, so they will tell me, oh, I love my body at 22 but I was doing drugs and I didn't like that. So I said, okay, we're not using that picture. We're going to use that picture where you felt joyful, connected, and thank goodness I've talked to thousands of human beings like you have through this work we do with homeopathy, and everyone has one moment. Otherwise, they don't even find us. You know what I mean? Like people have
Yeah.
one moment where they want to return to, they want to go
Yes.
back home. So
Mm.
I tell them, print out the picture, put it underwater, and approach the water, asking the water to help you.
Mm.
It
I
is
love it.
often their weight loss journey starts with that and some prescriptions, but
Mm.
people who haven't managed to shift the weight or shift the weight here.
Yeah.
It's incredible the possibilities with water.
Mm. It's,
Incredible. And it's just, yeah.
I love your train of thought. It's so creative. This is what I live for, these creative lateral thoughts that are kind of obvious when you start saying them. But then, because of this kind of scientific mindset that everybody has been programmed with, we're not looking at those very simple creative ideas that are just beautiful. They're just there in front of us, and we're oblivious to them. So when you said that, it's a wonderful idea, and I love it. Thank
We need
you.
each other to jog our memory, don't we? Because we,
Oh,
we
we.
know this stuff, we know
Mm,
it, but we
mm,
forgot.
exactly.
We forgot, and then we need to help each other out of amnesia and back into Akasha. That's another
I love,
thing.
yeah, back into a cache. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I've got this funny story about water. I
please.
was at this festival and everybody was inside this tent. It was like a festival without electronics. There's only 500 people. And I was having problems like, what's wrong with me? And I could feel this darkness inside of me, and something had happened that had activated a very dark feeling inside of me. and I couldn't shift it. It was actually to do with someone else taking drugs, and not at that festival, but before, and that had brought a very dark feeling into me of kind of, I could say all the worst words in the world, and it felt like that. And I was thinking, oh my God, this has been given to me to show me something inside myself. So everybody was in the festival tent, and I was outside walking around thinking, oh my God, what is happening to me? And then I said, what do I feel like? And I said, I feel like the dirt in the step of an underground station. And I grew up in London with this very kind of, the spirit of London is very powerful. It's a very powerful place within the matrix. And I remember someone said to me a long time ago that it's a very spiritual, powerful place. And I never had seen it like that. And then I was like, yeah, I kind of get what you mean. Anyway, so when so I identified this like piece of dirt, and it was Hampstead Tube Station. This is where I went when I was a child. I used to walk up the emergency stairwell, and it's the deepest stairwell in the whole of London. And that's the one that flashed in my mind. So I decided that I was going to make a remedy called Tube Station, right? With this energy. And so I wrote it on the piece of paper, and I made it with the water, and I let it sit in the sun, and I took the remedy, and I felt like this cleared this really dark, heavy, kind of grimy feeling from inside me. And it made me laugh because I was thinking, obviously that was specific for me, but I was like, you know what? If you get creative and you really tune into kind of these inner feelings, words do kind of emerge. And if you work with those words, that you can create your own energetic solutions quite easily. That was a very funny example of that, though. Yeah.
Wow, what a story. That remedy should be in London tap water, instead of fluoride.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
I think there is, you know what? One thing that you said to me, which was beautiful a few weeks ago, was that the water of the place where we're in, how that affects us, and that perhaps, let's say, you might be in a place where you're actually energetically not aligned with the energy of that water, and you're drinking it every day, and it's not really working for you. You said that a few weeks ago. And it's funny because I recently had a client who she said, I want to change my life. I really want to take on a new type of being. But she said, I feel blocked. And she said she was a bit frightened because, she was moving in with a new boyfriend, etc. Anyway, and she realized that her old patterns might cause a problem. So it was the intention of these remedies was to kind of clear any blockages. And I doused the remedy because I used a dowsing process, and it came up with a water remedy. And the water remedy was Wiesbaden water. Now, Wiesbaden water is near Frankfurt, where she lived. And and what I realized straight away from actually that conversation that you from what you told me was that she needed to take the essence of the water of where she was from to unblock herself from the conditioning and restrictions of that place, which had kind of controlled her up to this point, because she wanted to kind of break free and start a kind of new life. So the remedy was a kind of a clearing of that conditioning and that energy so she could be free. So she made a water remedy that evening, and she was sick the whole night. It was almost like puking out all of this,
purging.
yeah,
Yeah.
purging this unwanted energy that was actually holding her back. And in the morning, she said, that was amazing. She didn't mind that she'd been sick. She was just impressed that it had changed so much in like 12 hours.
Yeah,
So,
and these testimonials are so important, and I'm glad we're talking about this as kind of we're sane, no? We're grounded, we're mothers, we're working with our art and our science for many years, and
mm,
we're holding space for many people for a long time. So I think it's really important that we're recording these stories because there will be a moment in time, again, when the science finds its humble way back to this truth about water. What you shared now is, it took me straight to, I would say there's a parallel life of me that runs as an astrologer, and I understand absolutely nothing about astrology in this life. But one of the temples that I want to visit here is the one that features the astrology zodiac. I don't even know the name of the temple. I just know I need to go. Okay, so I'm telling you this because you talked about the location. Uh, there is not one single first consultation I go through now, working with water for quite some years, where I do not ask, what water do you drink? Okay, we're going to talk about your eczema, your depression, your heart issues. What water do you drink? And that's really important in relation to where we're incarnated. And the reason why I'm bringing astrology, it's the particular aspect of astrocartography. Where
Yes.
did you come as a soul? Where did you land? When did you come out of the amniotic fluid and started to breathe air, the H2O in the air? And then, either you drank your mother's milk and she drank water from that place, or you were given, powder milk and water was used. Anyway, we are fluid beings. We need liquids for many months before we can start eating solid. And even there's so much liquid in solids that we eat, a potato or a fish or even meat. There's, a lot of fluid in it. We cannot eat. If you go on a diet of just dry nuts and dry wheat, and it's terrible for our body. We can't. So it's really important to pay attention to what you open here about the fact that we're born somewhere, and as nature will have it, it's good for us. We chose that incarnation, this particular pattern and family lineages, and then we move. So there is definitely information in the water where we are. And I want now to tie this in with, I worked with the water of Ibiza. We had water ceremony. Many women connect to the water. Many women call even themselves water priestesses. And we go and speak to the springs. There's water whisperers on the island, and many different locations on the planet. And at some point in my life, I was doing Ibiza, Egypt, south of France, where there's a lot of Marian, energy, where the Virgin Mary appeared, where the energy of the Magdalens is very present in the region called the Cafard region, Occitanie. There's a place called Lourdes, where people go to receive the miracles of the water, the wisdom of the water, and it works. I've experienced it myself. It works because faith works and because water mimics our faith. And this is where water is our friend, because water responds to what we ask. I say it's our friend. The reason why I keep saying this is because I'm also very much aware of the forces of water. So in August 2024, I had a hypnosis with a lady called Alison Coe, who's based in Oregon, Portland, Oregon, and she does these 3-4 hours hypnosis consultations, and you go deep. And she had, so we went down and water was there with me the whole time. Few months later, I was living in Valencia, and I have witnessed firsthand the force of water when it's not our friend, when it doesn't appear to be our friend. Just 5 minutes by car from where I was, dozens of people lost their lives, and they lost everything they owned. It was called the Dana in Valencia, and our area was completely clear. but many people have lost everything in the space of 1 hour. That's it. Their whole life turned upside down.
Wow.
We are both old enough and young enough to have lived through media what happened in 2004 in Southeast Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
exactly. And there is so much information coming out now about weather manipulation as well. I mean, that's a whole other topic, and
yeah,
how a lot of these kind of freak weather happenings are supposedly man-made, and there's a lot of evidence for it. That's a whole other conversation, but you can see how that water is being used and abused, and
yeah,
I want you to carry on, but I just, as you said, going to the springs, I've been to quite a few springs in Ireland, and I just got very clear message. I have to go to all the springs and give remedies to the springs in Ireland, because that will help clean the land, clear the land, because the land here at times feels very blocked to me. There's a lot of old energy here. So if I focus on the springs will get everything moving. And
yeah, yeah.
so that's a beautiful idea. Thank you. I think I've thought of that before, but not in those terms. And so thank you for the inspiration for that.
Well, you mean going to the springs creating a resonance field so that the water responds.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
like, for instance, I mean, just again in this field that I was in this it's called Earth Song. It's a kind of a gathering with lots of music and stuff, but all kind of drums and dancing. Very, very nice. But I was in the field, and that field has been used many times. And I walked around the field and I asked it, "Look, hi, do you need anything? Like, we're so grateful we're here. It's a beautiful field." And
yeah.
you know what? The remedy it told me, you're like this. It told me I need emerald.
Hmm.
And so I took the emerald and I put it in in all the places in the field to create a kind of like a kind of grid work in that field. And it told me the thing that it was struggling was radiation, and there was this big electrical kind of pylon quite near it. And so yeah, we can do that with, obviously, with we can do it with fields, we can do that with land, and I know with radionics machines, to kind of create a healing radionics machine grid work in Ireland to just help the land. And I haven't given
Hmm.
up on that idea. I'm going to meet them in September, so maybe I'll suggest it again. But just going back to what you were saying about the springs, I think it's a beautiful thing to do, is to clear the water, especially water which is near you, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you know,
So as you share that, we discuss here very openly so that people watch this video, they can also be inspired by all these activities that we do with water. And we don't
yeah.
need to call each other water priestesses or priestesses. It's just when humans are connected to the source of life on this beautiful
Mm,
planet, going back to the aspect of Earth. Uh,
yeah.
so one of the things that I was doing between all these movements was to take water. I will do it with the permission of water, but I will take water from the Nile and bring it to Ibiza, and then take water from
Mm,
Ibiza and bring it to the Pyrenees. And I played like that. And between
mm,
you and me and those who will tune in, three little springs were born from this work. And
mm,
I wanted the water of Ibiza to rise again. And
mm,
because, I realized there is water, but it's just being abused for, pools and these big hotels. And again, a dishonoring of Mother
mm,
Nature and her waters. We don't need
yeah.
pools on an island.
Mm,
It's ridiculous. And then we're importing plastic bottles. What we need is to pay, but obviously there's a whole mafia that controls many regions of the world. Here in Egypt, people
yeah.
buy a run of water that's controlled by freaking Nestle. And it's so annoying
Okay.
that people are,
Yes.
controlling this when actually we could reawaken those wisdom and clean the river Nile, like we could clean
Yeah.
Congo and we could clean the
Mm.
Ganges. And I think it will come from our human consciousness. And the reason why I'm
Yeah.
saying that is to also to respond with weather manipulation, which has a lot to do with water. Even though right
Yes.
now we're talking in the midst of a heat wave in the northern hemisphere, very strong, the
Mm.
strongest temperature in my homeland in France today. Maybe that's being controlled too, but what I want to say is that they cannot control the weather unless we are controlled here.
Yes.
This harp and all of that stuff starts with us.
Mm.
We need to realize, and I'm going to illustrate that if you don't mind. I will take the time to just illustrate that.
Please do. I agree.
We are the weather.
Mm. Yes.
I was living in Sinai after this experience on St. Catherine. I wanted to honor this land and understand my connection with it and why so many people feel drawn to it, even to this day, especially, no, people from all over the world, really. So I settled in Sinai for a bit in a place called Dahab. And I had this beautiful garden that needed watering days and night. There is no rain. It's the desert, you know. It's
Mhm.
super hot. So you have to water your garden. And one day I was tuning with the plants in the garden, and they spoke to me. They said, "We love so much that you water us, but oh my God, we miss the rain. We miss the rain. We miss the rain." And I was like, "We're in the desert. There's no rain. How can you miss the rain?" And I received that there was a time where people knew how to ask for rain.
Mm.
They knew how to dance for rain, to drum for it, to sing and chant for it, to pray for it.
Yeah.
So I did that
Mhm.
because the plants asked me to receive water straight from the sky, which is not something I can do for them with my water hose. And a few hours later, it was raining in Dahab in May 2021. I think I have pictures. And I went to buy a drum after that. And as I was buying my drum, all the shopkeepers came on the street crying of joy because it was raining. I didn't share that story with many people. I want to share with the humble heart to understand that we are channels of divine energy. And
Absolutely.
that energy is being used by those who knows how to manipulate it until we wake the fuck up.
Yes.
You
Well,
know, I thought I'm not going to say F word in these videos, but I am saying it. And
mm.
another thing that people can try, it's the beginning of summer holidays. Ask permission when you enter the sea, honor the water when you enter the sea, and you can change the energy of water. We just experienced it again in Denia. The water was not clear enough for us to bathe. We used to crystalline water in Ibiza, and the water was kind of, you know, when the water is kind of stagnating a bit at the sea
Mm.
shore,
Mm.
and you're like, oh, I want to see the fish. I want to know where I'm going, you know? I don't like it when it's dark. So I said to my boys, I said, we know this stuff. We're just going to ask permission. We're just going to pray. And I kid you not, in that moment, within 5 minutes, the long strand of sea was the same everywhere except where our body had entered the sea, and the sea was clearing itself. And people started to notice, like, why is it wavy there and not here?
Mm.
And I've done it so many times where I enter the sea. I love the beach Aguas Blancas in Ibiza, but in
Mm.
the winter months it can get quite rough, and I don't always like rough. Sometimes it's fun to jump in the waves, but sometimes I'd like to snorkel or, you know, I just ask. And every single time the water changes.
Mm.
Actually, the water must be communicating with the wind because as far as I'm concerned, it's the wind that moves the waves.
exactly.
But this is the power that we have.
Mm. Yeah.
And this power needs to go to be remembered for people who truly care about, love,
Yes.
about service, and about, Earth being this actual paradise that it is.
Yeah. I mean, think how many years they've been trying to tell us how that we don't have any power, that we are slaves, that we don't know anything. I mean, those beautiful examples just showing that we can do these things. It's,
Yeah,
you know, if we're not so busy. I remember once I was in this tropical garden in Ireland. It's the next peninsula down, and I was just having a cup of tea, and I hear some words, hello, hello, and I'm drinking my tea and I'm thinking, there's nobody around. And I realize it's the tree next to me wanting to say hello to me because I am sitting next to it. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Hi. I was, and I was thinking, there's the trees, the water, the whole of nature is there to communicate with, and yet we're just ignoring it. And I suppose that's what I was saying at the beginning as well. It's like, how long have I ignored water for? And if I start acknowledging it, like as you said, when I go swimming in the sea and just connecting in that way, I mean, our lives are going to change. The world is going to change if we all started doing these things. And
it's going to change. Yeah.
yeah,
These
I mean,
programs will not hold, they won't have any place to anchor in our
yeah,
psyche.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because the thing is, they always tell us when they want us to know something so that we think it so it becomes real. And then we shut down these aspects of ourselves which were innate,
Yeah.
always innate. People always knew when weather was changing and all these different things. They knew, just
Yeah.
like the animals. And so that's the thing. I think we really have to just throw all this stuff off, don't we? Like all these kind of things we take really for granted, they aren't true.
Yeah.
Like, we can connect with plants and talk to plants. We
Yeah.
can talk to, and people say, but how? You just start. This is the thing. I think people think, oh, I have to go on a course to do this. No, you just start with one plant in your garden and you start just, communicating and things start happening. Plants start kind of looking at you, like I have in like my polytunnel. When I would water, all the plants would just do this ping, I called it. Everything would just go yay. And it was so beautiful because they were so happy, and then they would all be sending this beautiful ping energy to me, and I would just sit in there and enjoy this kind of ecstatic happiness from the plants. And I was thinking, wow, this is all happening and we're ignoring it. So, yeah,
Yeah. I think we need to have not only, throw all these programs, say
yeah,
really goodbye to them, which means also to not engage so much with people who keep us stuck in this program. It's not the time for
yes,
that now on Earth.
no,
Uh, to
no,
to to really experience this plane, this terrestrial plane in the 3D also, as pure
yeah,
magic, as a pure mirroring of what's within us. We
yes,
we need to surround ourselves with like-minded people. Uh,
definitely.
I've put it
Yeah.
here, that yeah,
Oh,
only
yeah,
love is real. And why I say that is because, I've been a homeopath now for long enough to know that love never goes away, but trauma always clears. So traumas are
yeah,
lies. Our mind is a great liar. And
mm,
we need to commit to love the way we committed to a life infused with trauma. So, in order to get there, again, coming back to ancient wisdom, we need to have a mantra, repetition. We need to repeat the correct frame for being human here. We need
mm,
to,
yeah,
and so going back to water, It's a fantastic medium for that because you cannot live a day without drinking water unless you set the attention to not and to fast. But
Yeah.
this is something you do every day,
Yes.
not
Mm,
just drinking water, but you take a shower.
mm,
Next
yes.
time I take a shower, I just, use the water to uh, also spiritually cleanse me and inspire me. Great ideas come from moving water. Some people have great ideas when they urinate because something leaves. Because
Mm,
there's one thing about water, interestingly, we depend on it. But think about the fact that if water stays in our bodies because our organs are not functioning, water wants to be in us and keep coming in us because it needs to go through us and go, through us and go. And if it stays, I actually have a little bit of that now. I'm menopausal and I take APIs regularly because I'm also very tubercular. So I have trouble sweating. So I take APIs and my body sweats and I enjoy it because when the body doesn't sweat and you live in a country like Egypt, what happened? Water retention, swelling, inflamed joints. But it's not normal. A healthy organism, a healthy heart, a healthy kidneys work towards the constant popping out of water, in and out, in and out. Isn't that beautiful? It's like a penetration of the water spirit. It always wants to come anew within us. It's like
mm,
breath. So every glass of water we drink is an opportunity to reset, realign. And that's why we need some tools in this transition.
yeah.
Also, what I shared about, using the word or intention to change the sea or bring the water from the sky. Many people use hands-on healing, right? I have a friend who's capable of making the water, I can't do that, but she has this power she's a Reiki lady, and she puts her hands around a glass of cold water. The water gets to a boiling point.
Wow.
And that's
Incredible.
the remedy she gives to people.
Mm,
And I've seen her doing that many times.
wow.
So also, we are going to come to a moment where collectively we're going to remember hands-on healing. I always
Mm,
say that what we do now with homeopathy, it's going to be obsolete and we're going to have to be okay with it. I distribute a technology, I work with bioresonance. I know it's just for helping to bring this coherence in the psyche in people. Because once we're coherent, we realize that we are there to manifest as we speak.
yes.
And there's no need to go through the bridge of a homeopathic remedy. That's going to be over very soon, and everybody's going to have to be okay. It's part of the
Mm,
ascension process. But we're having a good ride with it, and we knowing ourselves with it. Also,
yeah.
when it comes to astrology, if people don't tune into galactic astrology and starseed origin, they're going to be so irrelevant. It's over.
Yes.
It's Aquarius time now. People
Yes.
remember, you know. So, so we have
Mm,
to change our ways, and I think that water is a fantastic medium to help us with that.
yeah. It's so I mean, I'm really excited because all the stories you've shared and the fact that there's this hope actually and especially when there's this kind of doom and gloom out there which is kind of
Yeah.
oppressing us, but actually conversations like this make me realize they can't stop us. We're totally unstoppable. We in America they would say we've already won, but I really do feel I
Yeah.
really do feel like this joyful feeling inside my heart that yeah, everything is doable. It really really is doable, and that we have magic. And that's homeopathy, isn't it? You've seen this miracles happen in your work. I've seen it happen in my work, and the water is part of that story, and yeah, I just feel, as you said, this is just such a hopeful thing. But I do agree, this is all going to fall away because we'll get to a point where we just shift ourselves energetically. We'll understand it and we'll shift ourselves. And yeah, and in the meanwhile, we're all waking up and remembering our kind of our, the power that we all have, and
Yeah,
because we have been like this before, haven't we? And, in ancient times, people had these connections. They knew about these things. These rituals were there for certain reasons.
yeah,
That's all, and I suppose that's why, people are fascinated with the past because that was we had that. But I think this inner alchemy, which is what we're talking about, I think this is what people don't realize is that this inner alchemy starts when you want to find out. You want to ask questions. You start on a little road of what if I did this and what if I did that, and you start seeing results, like you
yeah,
said with the rain in the garden, you
yeah.
know, and it rained. I mean, that's huge, and you probably don't even want to tell people because it kind of sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. And I've seen these kind of things before myself. Like I have a friend who controls the weather. She always brings in the good weather. She calls for it. And she does it all the time, and it works. I've seen it
Yeah.
many times. So
Yeah, yeah,
um,
it's about remembering this power of it's like this divine union, and then that is why I feel quite connected to Egypt and why I'm here and to keep exploring this, but with a lot of humility because I came here, I spent 3 years here, and I came back to Ibiza and was talking about demystifying Egypt. We need it. We need to stop the feather in the head and doing all these rituals, and we need to make it very simple because there's many people who will benefit from it. So that was always my intention. Like when I came back to Ibiza with what we call the downloads or the channeling, I will always try to make it simple and approach like easy to approach and to
yes,
integrate in people's life. I think again with water we can simplify a lot of things. And I'm looking at the way the ancient Egyptians or the Atlantean. And I say that with humility again because I don't know. I have glimpses, I have images. I just was at the pyramids with my son, and we're looking at these structures and we're like, what the hell? Like, who built this?
mm,
What was it for? And I've wrote so many articles, newsletter, and did so many posts. But it's like this different version of me at different times because they've been there for so long. And as
yes,
souls, I think we have many parallel lives running. So I may have one in Atlantis and one in Sumeria, one in Egypt, one in Mesopotamia, whatever. It's just sometimes there's a moment to integrate, just receive, and then there will be clarity. I found the water helps clarify. If there's anybody listening out there and feels very confused, I want to talk about a mix that was made by a collective of homeopaths in the US. Only homeopaths can order it, yeah, for our patients, but I want to talk about it in case people want to order it. And it's a blend, part of it, the Ascension kit that was made in 2024. And there's a Waters of the Earth or Water Consciousness, it's called. And it contains Manchester waters, dolphin songs, whale
mm,
songs, waters of the cave of Magdalena Grotto in southern France, waters of Glastonbury.
Alice, well, yeah.
Yeah, Chalice wells, thank you, which is a very rich homeopathic, as we know. Uh, so it has all of that in one plant. And I will say to people, take it for a week and let
Mm,
it work with you.
mm,
Let it restructure, let it do something with you. It will
mm,
build these connections. Um, I'm not sure where I was going with that, but yes, in ancient Egypt or Atlantis, there was a participation of the human being into the reality of life, into the God life. People were participating. Then religion came and they started to detach from God and put God as a father in the sky or, a Christ on the cross. And that really created a lot of damage to the human psyche. And this is what I come to heal here in Egypt because I see it. When you go to a chapel or a temple, you have all these hieroglyphs, which a part of us remember. I call it like text messages, emojis. I'm looking at them and there's constant repetition, thousands of times engraved in the wall. How did they do that with such precision? And the impact on our waters is
Mm.
it overwhelms me at times because I'm very, very yin and I'm
Mm.
receiving it this penetrated by all these messages. And then it takes me weeks to actually understand the messages. And that is why I moved to Egypt because people come here and they do one day in Abydos, one day in Philae, but I can't do that. I'm a little bit autistic also, where I need to sit with it because my water is imprinted. And then my life starts shaping itself according to what that chapel or temple had to share. So when people come to Egypt and they do, I don't know, 7 temples in 2 weeks down the Nile, I'm like, it's like doing cocaine, MDMA, alcohol, mushrooms all at the same time and being okay with it. That's how it feels. That's how it feels. So if you know what I mean by that, and
Yeah.
there's a journey that you and I need to take down the Nile, and we need to take our time, where we're not so constrained by children and agendas and diaries and all of that, but because there's a lot here that reawakens that yin within us very strongly and still very active,
Mm.
extremely active.
I think as well, when people go to places like you're explaining, they have a lot, they know, they already have read a lot about those places. They already know a lot instead of just going there and receiving. Because
Mm.
if you're a blank slate, you just will have an experience and that will,
Mhm.
as you said, work on your waters.
Yeah.
And so I try and do this thing is don't don't read up on it. Don't don't get a mindset about it. Just go and just see what happens and just experience it. And
Yeah,
I feel like that's the best way to communicate with whether that be a temple or a garden or whatever.
yeah,
It's just keeping the mind out of it
yeah,
because uh, those messages were all created with frequency, and we can receive those if the mind is like to the side.
yeah.
So.
And as you said, a temple or a garden, because it's all about this inner temple. So that's where my resonance is at this stage of my life. But, sitting, I don't know, on Mount Everest or any forest or and to approach it with this awareness and consciousness and wisdom of water changes the experience.
Yeah.
In the way you look at the morning dew or everything, the rain.
Yeah.
Once we do our little education and remembrance of what water truly is, it
Mm,
changes our life experience.
yeah. I remember my dad
Yeah,
always used to say to me, if you can get up really early in the morning and just walk on the ground, the water on the ground, he said, this is some of the most beautiful way to ground yourself because that water goes through your feet, the soles of your feet, and it's very
beautiful.
energized from the whole night where this whole process of everything is sleeping and then everything is waking and the dew
Yeah,
holds all this energy and then you have that at the bottom of your feet and it energizes your whole body and it's a beautiful
yeah,
way to wake up. Yeah.
yeah,
Again, walk.
absolutely. And everyone can access, a river, a lake,
Yeah.
a the sea, a pond. Even in London, there's a lot of, ponds, and so I hope that this conversation would help us first remember
Mhm.
our practices with water in a playful manner, but
Yes.
also to inspire others to look at this resource as
Mm.
something beyond just a resource.
Yeah. exactly. And we didn't even talk about flower remedies, which are all about essences within water. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, and I remember my mum was always into flower remedies, and I bought her a book on it. And at the beginning of the book, it said flower remedies. They've been with us for so long, and they had them in Egypt. It goes back a long way. So
Yeah.
this, you know, the frequency of flowers within water, they're just gifts, absolute gifts.
Yeah.
Mm,
All right.
yeah,
So I think it's perhaps a good time
yeah,
to close,
yeah,
unless
yeah. No, I think I said everything for the moment.
yeah, there are probably more episodes to share.
I'm, I don't, I'm, it's funny because I think with you and me, we can talk forever about this stuff because we're so inspired by it and we love it so much. And hearing your stories always inspires me, and I think, oh, I never thought of that. So it's like we as you said, we're kind of activating each other,
We
and I think
are.
that's
Yeah.
why it's so beautiful to share like this, and then hopefully other people will be inspired as well, and
Yeah.
then we get feedback from them, which then inspires something else. I'm actually really excited about what the world is, what's happening to people at the moment, and what we're turning into. I mean, obviously,
Mm,
the world, the story of the world on a kind of mass level is kind of quite horrific. But when I hear like when I have these conversations, I realize it's something really beautiful is happening, and I'm so happy about that.
yeah, it's emerging within us. And
Mm,
so I'm very grateful to be fed by your beautiful presence and the way you honor your work, your way of being. And it's very inspiring. And the time that you take also to share this conversation with me. So thank you so much, Sarah. I
thank
can't wait
you.
for the day we meet, but meanwhile,
Oh,
we have those
mm,
spaces.
mm,
So it's fantastic to have you in my constellation.
exactly.
One of
I
my
love
favorite remedy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Perfect. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, that's just the idea that there's certain frequencies that work for us within a constellation, and maybe we might need to repeat those now and again. It's just my
yeah,
daughter, I realize she's such a silica. She has silica in her constellation, and we were in the car and she was telling me, I've got this, I've got that. And I was like, silica again. These things come round, don't they? They have
yeah,
cycles. Yeah.
yes, absolutely. I want to do something before I'm just
Okay.
going to do this. There's this rosewater hydrosol because maybe people watch
Oh,
it less.
lovely.
It is summer. Summer started, and one way to
Mm.
absorb water is it's so refreshing to
That's
consume
nice.
water in such way. But it's made from rose petal. Obviously, there's
Oh,
different. I'm not working with this brand whatsoever, but I just love to engage with water in different ways and
yeah,
soul bath or because now I'm in a city. Obviously, when I was living on an island, it's just okay, let's just go. I know you're close to the sea, but when we're
yes,
not and it's very hot outside, there's so many ways to engage with water to cool us down.
yeah,
Like actually, also one more tip is that people here in the desert, the Bedouins, they don't drink cold water. First, there's no fridge, and they drink tea.
yes,
When
yes.
you when warm water enters us, it cools us down. Actually, a better way than having ice creams and drinking, you know, cold water from the fridge. It doesn't help the body very much.
Mhm. No, it's actually a bit of a shock to the body, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So some tips as we go through those waves of fire horse energy on this planet right now.
Mm, yeah. Fine. So it's been a good year so far, that is for sure.
It's going fast.
Mhm. Yes, going fast. Okay, thank you so much. It's been really
Thank
interesting,
you.
and yeah, and just love hearing all your stories, and thank you for sharing.
Likewise.
I've
Thank
got
you so
lots to
much.
think.
So
Bye.
so do I. Thank you. Bye and bye everyone.
Bye, love. Bye, everyone.